So I went from Alaska down to San Diego when I was 18. I had a job working in a computer warehouse, answering phones and selling things, except I was terrible. I was good at answering the phone and talking. I just wasn't great at the selling things part. And my boss took me aside to have a talk with me one day. And I thought he was going to reprimand me, but it turns out halfway through the conversation he was propositioning me. So I slept with him. I didn't. I totally didn't sleep with him. I'm totally kidding. I can joke about it. It's my life. No, I turned him down and I joked it off, as I clearly am wanting to do. And my rent was due the next day. I had a nice landlord, but I was late quite often in my rent. He was like, "If you're late again, we're going to have to ask you to leave." So I went in there for my paycheck the next day. And my boss would not look at me. I walked in the office, I opened the door, I was like, "Hey, I'm here for my paycheck." And he just kept looking at his papers, and I was like, "Hey, here for my paycheck." And he was like, he just ignored me. It's like I was a ghost. He acted like I didn't even exist or walk in the room, and it was completely humiliating. Some of those moments where you wish you could think of something incredibly clever, but I didn't, and I just walked out completely humiliated and dejected and sat in my car realizing I was about to be kicked out of where I was living. But it was San Diego. It's a nice place to live in your car, and I thought, you know what, I'll just move in my car for a couple months, and I'll get back on my feet, and I'll get a new job, and I'll, earn a deposit on a new apartment. But I had bad kidneys at the time. I kept getting sick, and I didn't have insurance, and I couldn't afford antibiotics, and I actually almost died in the parking lot of an emergency room because they wouldn't see me because I didn't have insurance, and I almost died of blood poisoning in the parking lot, but a doctor had seen me get turned away, and he came and brought me out some sample antibiotics, and it saved my life. And then my car I was living in got stolen, which just sucked. But I wasn't in it, so. Silver linings, people. Yeah, so I ended up homeless for about a year. It's very hard to get a job when you don't have a physical address, and it was very hard to get back on your feet. That poverty cycle is really hard to break at that level, and it was during this time that I had a brief career with shoplifting. Yeah, it started with food, which, I don't know, I justified somehow wrongly, of course, but one day it looked like it might escalate because there was a sundress in a storefront window, and I coveted it. And I went in there and I tried it on, and I was thinking about how I could steal it, and I had the price tag in my hand, and it was $39.99, and it was just a surreal moment. I don't know what it was about the moment, but I just saw myself in the mirror with my little grubby paws on that dress trying to figure out how to steal it, and it was like a lightning bolt struck me, and I thought, when did I lose faith? When did I lose faith in myself? I moved out when I was 15, and I did really good for a lot of years and supported myself for a lot of years, and here I was thinking I couldn't earn $40 to buy myself something, much less food. I suddenly was so insulted by myself. I hung around these homeless kids, and they always felt like God owed you something, other people owed you something, and I really realized I owed myself something. And I vowed not to shoplift, and I started writing these lyrics about, if you're watching what your hands can do, when you watch what they're doing, you can see what your life will become, because your hands are the servant of your thought. And it was hard for me to get a grip on my thoughts. I was really frightened and very afraid, and my thoughts were just spiraling, and I wasn't able to catch them, but I could see what my hands were doing. It was like your thought gets slowed down enough to create an action, and they were up to no good. I was selling myself out constantly, and I decided if I could change what my hands were doing, maybe I could reverse engineer back into what my thoughts were doing. And so I started my little experiment and began writing a lot, and I got a gig singing at a local coffee shop, and my life did turn around. And years later, I was camping in the mountains with my future ex-husband. Shit, this has been a long road. My future husband turned, anyway. So we were up there, it was 2001. We came out of the mountains on September 14th. We've been up there about a week. And we come out, and there's this flag at half-mast on this ranch, and we think, maybe a local cowboy had been hurt. And then we go down to the next ranch, and that flag's at half-mast. And we start seeing these signs on the road, and they're in the ditches written on napkins, and it said, God bless our country, and God save us. And we finally got out of the mountains enough to get reception, and we realized that while we were camping, America had been attacked by terrorists, and the towers had fallen, and we were sitting there in complete shock and disbelief. And then the DJ came on, and he dedicated the song that I had written when I was 18 years old at this dark time in my life. and he dedicated it to America. It's such a dark time in America's life. It was a very surreal and very humbling moment. I'd love to play that for you. This is called Hands. If I could tell the world just one thing, it would be that we're all okay. And not to worry, 'cause worry is wasteful and useless in times like these. I won't be made useless. I won't be made idle with despair. Gather myself around my faith, for light does the darkness most fear. My hands are small, I know, but they're not yours, they are my own. They're not yours, they are my own. We are never broken. Poverty stole your golden shoes, but it did not steal your laughter. And heartache came to visit me, but I knew it was not ever after. And we will fight, but not out of spite, just 'cause someone must stand up for what's right. 'Cause where there's a man who has no voice, there are shadows singing. My hands are small, I know, but they're not yours, they are my own. But they're not yours, they are my own. We are never broken, 'cause in the end, only kindness matters. In the end, only kindness matters. I will get down on my knees and I will pray. I will get down